All right, and this is episode 7 of the Star Trek Discovery Look Back. This week, joining me is Jerica Wilson, also known as Jerikandra Cosplay.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the show, and I, of course, am David Duncan.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. I've been looking forward to this, and then you texted me the other day, said you're going to do a Vulcan dress up, and I'm like, that's so awesome!
Yeah, I feel like I have to represent my brand as a cosplayer. So even if it was just like a throw together thing.
Yeah, absolutely, it works out really great. And she joined us back for All Good Things on the regular podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
That's the only one I've done with you guys so far.
yeah, you said you want to do a Voyager one later, so we'll have to get you in on that.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad is episode 7 of Star Trek Discovery. Looking back on it, now that we've seen the first 9 episodes, what stood out most to you?
Well, I mean, in general, the having the any kind of time travel or time loop kind of stuff is always kind of exciting for me. So that always makes an impact. I know you were. I remember you talking about this episode before, like before it even happened, and being all really excited about it, and then in the end of it, like not being or having your expectations up too high or something, and then it didn't quite meet the expectations.
Yeah, on the podcast, I was definitely, I was super excited because the preview, they made it look like it was, that Next Generation episode. I'm blanking on it right now.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah.
Anyway, it's the next gen episode where they meet the Bozeman and Fraser's the captain of that ship where they keep blowing up time and again.
Right.
So I was excited because it was that, and I was excited because I love Rainn Wilson as Harry Mudd. So this episode, I just said I was through the roof with expectations, and it was a good episode. It was a fun episode, but my issue with it mostly is that this is the Klingon War season, and they're doing everything they can to not show us Klingon wars and Klingon battles. And this episode was like a bottle episode that really could have been in any season. He could have tried to sell them to the Klingons at any time, because even in Star Trek Five, the Klingons and Federation aren't technically at war, but that one guy, Claw, he's like, I'm just gonna get Kirk because that's the Klingon thing to do.
Right.
It's just even when they're not at war per se, their Klingons are still like, oh, I'll take some Federation stuff. That's cool.
Yeah. In general, I feel like the whole season they didn't show enough of the actual war. It felt like when they did, it was like, whoa, that's awesome because Discovery it kicks ass, but they don't
Yeah,
show enough, in my opinion.
I feel the same way, and I hate it when at the beginning of episodes like, oh yeah, we've done all this stuff to curtail the Klingon War, and then it's like, what? I didn't see it. What happened? I wanted to see that stuff.
Exactly.
How do you feel about Rainn Wilson as Harry Mudd?
I like him. I still have not seen any of. I've listened to your episodes about Harry Mudd episodes, but I have not seen any of them from the old Star Trek.
Oh
So
man,
this is kind of a fresh. Like I have no other things to expect, from the old Harry Mudd.
oh no
So
preconceptions of Mudd, huh?
exactly. So given that, I liked him as Harry Mudd. He definitely is a character. From what you guys have talked about, the old Harry Mudd, like he seems to bring that pretty well. What's funny is when I was rewatching this episode the other day, my husband walked in and he was like, "Oh, who's that?" I was like, "That's Harry Mudd." And he's like, "Oh, it is." And he acted like he's the most non-nerdiest person ever, and not into pop culture or anything. But he watched the original Star Trek, and so he knew who Harry Mudd was. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome. I was like, oh yeah, Harry Mudd. And like I just wish he had the handle, because Harry Mudd's got like the curled up greased mustache. He doesn't have the full beard in the original series. So I'm kind of sad like Wade Wilson wasn't doing that. Although it makes sense if he was on a Klingon ship for months and months and he doesn't have his pretty mustache.
Right, true. Yeah, I think he does a good job. It's funny because you and I were talking about this when the first Harry Mudd episode happened, I think, and I was like, "Wait, was that the original actor for Harry Mudd?" And you're like, "No, that's Rainn Wilson." And I was like, "Oh yeah, the guy from Dwight." It's from I didn't
Yeah.
even think of that. It's obviously Dwight, but I just was like so entrenched in the Harry Mudd character, I didn't even think about that it was Dwight.
Well, the thing is, the original Harry Mudd actor died right before Next Gen started, if I remember correctly, because they wanted to have Harry Mudd show up in Next Gen.
Oh, okay.
And they also talked about wanting to have him around as a character witness for Kirk in Star Trek 4 at Kirk's court martial at the end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
And I think he was still alive for Star Trek 4. I'm so sad that they didn't get him because I would have loved to see Harry Mudd in the movie. Oh
Yeah.
man, but unfortunately he died before Next Gen started, and so they couldn't bring him for Next Gen because that would have been so much fun, like having Harry Mudd mess with Picard.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been so much fun.
Yeah, I'm surprised they waited till. Well, I mean, I guess you also have to look at the fact that this is Next Generation is generations later.
Well,
But you could
McCoy was still alive in the first episode.
that's true. And didn't Spock actually show up in some Next
Yeah,
Generation stuff too?
Spock's in reunification, the Romulan two-parter reunification. It's also
But then,
got Sela, Denise Crosby, Tasha Yar playing Sela,
oh
her
yeah, that's
her
right.
her daughter, because of the yesterday's Enterprise incident.
Okay. So then Harry Mudd is human, right?
Yes,
So like he might not have lived as long or something.
yeah, but McCoy was still around.
And how old was McCoy? So that was the first episode you said?
He's in the first episode. He's in Encounter at Farpoint, just for a second. Like Data's escorting him around the Enterprise.
Oh, and I just watched that like a couple months ago.
He's
So
in like like a metric ton of old age makeup.
okay,
He's hard to see.
gotcha.
So, but yeah, just Data just escorting him around. So he's alive, and humans, I guess, live longer in the future in
That makes
Star Trek
yeah.
stuff. So, I wouldn't have mind. I thought Harry Mudd would have been a fun choice to see in Next Gen because I love the character. Like his episodes aren't the greatest in TOS, but I just love the way the character is and how dark he is, especially in Discovery. Like, all the ways he kills Lorca.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I'm actually getting tired of killing.
Well, he's like, I guess killing someone can only be so much fun once you've exhausted all the ways of doing it.
It's true,
And in space, there's so many more ways.
and nobody can hear you scream.
No one can hear you scream. Revenge
Uh,
is a dish best served cold.
yeah, exactly.
So, what do you
But
think of Stamets in this episode?
I mean, he's the key to the whole episode, right? If you take him out of the episode, they're fucked. I mean,
They are screwed.
like they. So yes, having him have the tardigrade DNA and be able to like be outside of the time loop in a way, or be able to experience all the time loops is an interesting way to go. What I don't get is how they make it almost seem like Michael Burnham also like starts to get it or something automatically, and it's like, how does she have any of that?
Yeah, Aaron and I didn't like that a whole lot. It was very odd that she became sort of aware, but I think they established the time loop where she had told Stamets that she'd never been in love before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they just assumed that they had that conversation, but they didn't do a good job of showing it
Mm-hmm.
because they only showed it once, and then it's after that one loop. It seemed like she knew from the get go, so it was kind of not clear. It did feel like she was starting to get it in the original one in the TNG time loop episode. Beverly is the one who starts getting it at first.
Mm-hmm.
So women have a sixth sense to time loops.
Apparently. Well, then you start to think, well, maybe raised as a Vulcan or something. Maybe there's some sixth or seventh sense involved too. But
Oh, she does have part of Sarek's Katra. Maybe that's to help to clue her in.
yeah,
Although, if you remember Enterprise and T'Pol, she's like, Vulcans do not think time travel is possible. Oh, that was back in Enterprise time, though. There was there's this one thing she kept quoting over and over again. The Science Vulcan Academy has deemed time travel impossible.
that's so the time going back to the device itself that he's using to make this loop. They kind of gloss over a little bit of the like, oh, he must have got that from a fourth dimension being or something. And I wish they would have explained that more, or he would have explained that at the end or something. And
The only examples of fourth dimensional beings that are for sure fourth dimensional beings in Star Trek are the Q, and in Deep Space Nine, the Prophets and the Pa Wraiths. Those are for sure fourth dimensional beings. And I think they probably ran into a couple in TOS. So I think there have been others, but I've never heard them described as fourth dimensional beings in Star Trek before. And I gave mad props to them for like, oh yes, you said fourth dimensional being, awesome.
well, and I just like, how did Mudd get that? Like, he never explains it, even at the end. Like how he got that device.
Well, he apparently has at least two of them, or had at least two of them, because he did rob the Betazoid. I really want to see, like, Rainn Wilson said something about wanting to do like a Harry Mudd show, a Harry Mudd spinoff. I would
Uh,
totally be down for that. I want to see how he robbed the Beta Z bank,
right.
because they're all psychics. They can read people's minds. How do you? Does he have a separate device that like closes him off to Beta Zeds? Because like, how do you deceive people when they can read your mind?
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Like,
You,
it's one thing to have time loop control, but that won't help necessarily with the reading your mind stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, we don't have a great precedent for how Beta Zeds act, but Loxana Troy, she just read people's minds all the time with no one's consent. She always did it all the time. So if
Yep.
that's how Beta Zeds act, if that's how it is, may not be too great for for Harry Mudd.
Yeah.
I want to know how many loops that took.
Right. Well, yeah.
That would have
So
been so much
going
fun.
back, going back to the actual episode and the loops, it feels like they did gloss over a lot. Like, the first time I watched it, I was confused from the get go because like he comes out of the whale the first loop, and then whatever, and the ship blows up. And then the second loop, he doesn't come out of the whale, and I'm just like, what's going on? And I watched it the second time, and they're like, oh, there's a energized transporter beam signature coming from the whale,
Mhm.
and then oh, he transported out of there into the ship somewhere, and okay, and so each part of the loop, he gets more and more of the ship, and so he doesn't need to come out of the whale shooting, and but. It just the first time around watching that, I didn't quite get that.
Yeah, and it kept changing. I was hoping Burnham would have been like, shoot the whale, kill it. Like, there's so many ways they could have avoided all these time loops. Just kill the whale, expunge it from the logs. Don't let anything happen. Although that would kill Harry Mudd, I guess. So you can't do that. But because he's of course alive in TOS. But Stamets knew about the time loop. I mean, like the energy blinking out was the clue that it had started again.
Oh yeah,
Because I guess the whale was close enough to the ship to initiate the time loop from inside the ship, and
oh
that. So the power flicker is the beginning of the loop.
right,
So Stamets knew, and Harry Mudd's not on the ship at this point. It takes him a couple minutes from when the time loop starts to get to the ship.
right.
So why didn't he just go to Lorca and say, lock out everything, just lock out all computer control from anybody, just to you, until we capture Harry Mudd. And they're like, what? But just do it. Like, Lorca is the power-hungry kind of guy who's like, yeah, I'll do that. Because it just seems so strange. I mean, Star Trek's got this weird security issue where anyone can just take a shuttlecraft, and apparently anyone can just access the computer.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess once the whale got close enough, he just beams over right away because he already had all the technology to be able to control the ship pretty quickly, I guess.
That's true, too. It just seems there should have been a quicker way of doing this.
Yeah.
And who do you think the episode is talking about? The episode title, The Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad.
I mean, I would think that it is Stamets because he's the one experiencing this whole episode, and everybody else is just in a loop, not really realizing what's going on. But it could be a double meaning. It could be. I mean, you can try to apply it to some of the other characters, but I think Stamets makes the most sense because when you in the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and so that's definitely what Stamets is experiencing over and over and over again.
That's really fascinating. Stamets is not the person I would have thought. I would have thought it was maybe Harry Mudd. But I think when we did the podcast, Aaron said Michael Burnham, because this is the episode where Michael Burnham falls in love with Ash because she eats that device that just kills her from the inside, molecule
Yeah.
by molecule.
Yeah, that's a good point. See, I think that's probably why they liked that title, is you can apply it to a couple different characters in the episode.
A lot of the titles are like have double meanings, I think, which is really kind of fun. Because Harry Mudd, he's insane, sort of. I mean, he's killing Lorca over and over again because of just being left on the Klingon ship. And the thing is, he was in cahoots with the Klingon. It couldn't have been that bad. They probably let him go because we don't see how that happened either.
Right. Yeah.
And but Stamets is good because he's so funny in this episode. He's so friendly.
Yes, and at the very beginning of the loop, before the loop starts, he's like he runs into them in the hall, and then he's like, oh, "What about you two?" And they're just like, "What?"
What?
It's like it's almost like not premonition, but like he knew ahead of time, kind of where they were going a little bit before by the episode end a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was really interesting that he kind of picked up on their thing before they did. But he is outside of the space time continuum a little bit because of the tardigrade DNA.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's funny because Stamets, at the beginning of the season is like just a kind of annoying character a little bit. He's just kind of mean for no reason, blah, blah, blah. And he turns into such a likable guy
until
throughout.
next episode, he turns back into the
Yeah, exactly.
Grouch.
Next episode. What are you looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just kind of like, what? I love the roller coaster of his character, and it seems, according to the trailer for episode 10, that's coming out soon, the trailer shows he's even grumpier.
Oh, no. At least he's alive. I don't remember what happened at the end of the episode.
At the end of Into the Forest, I go.
Yeah, yeah.
They jumped, and the jump caused him physical pain, and his eyes turned all white.
That's right.
But
Yeah,
he's still alive.
which is good because we don't even know where they are at this point.
I'm betting they're in the mirror universe. And I know this episode will be out after. This episode of the Look Back will be out after, but I bet
Oh,
it's the mirror universe because Jonathan Frakes is the one who's directing that episode.
oh,
Jonathan
really?
Frakes is also the person who said there's going to be a mirror universe in the Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah,
So, putting two and two together, I'm betting they're in the mirror universe.
I hope
Since
they are.
since he dropped the bomb and he's the one directing that episode, it just makes so much sense if that's what's happening.
It feels like that's where they've been taking this the whole time. The whole tardigrade, all this stuff. It feels like they've been heading towards this mirror universe
I feel
thing.
like they have been too. I mean, this episode, a lot of the stuff that Stamets has been talking about has been kind of hinting at that too, throughout the season. And then you had the mirror Stamets right after he injected the tardigrade blood or the tardigrade mixture in the couple episodes previous.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, they've definitely been hinting at it like the entire time. So, I don't know if Jonathan Frakes' spoiler is really that much of a spoiler since they've been kind of doing little hints all throughout.
Right. The other thing random I've been thinking about, now we're kind of getting off topic of the episode, but is the whole mirror universe thing and how originally they were saying that Discovery was going to like travel around to maybe some of the other, because Discovery, right, to the other Star Trek universes or not universes, times, or did they kind of
Different
hint.
timelines.
Yeah, something like that. And then it would also make sense that if they have all this technology and Kirk never had this technology, that maybe they end up in the mirror universe and they go somewhere else and they don't end up, maybe they're taking this show completely out of Kirk's time, and that's why they have this crazy technology or something. I don't know, just random thoughts.
Well, something definitely catastrophic has to happen for everything to shape up the way it needs to for continuity to work going forward. Although it doesn't make sense that Kirk didn't have the technology. The Enterprise is actually an old ship. He gets it when it's about 15 years old. Like 10 to 15 years old. I can't remember exactly. But the Constitution is already flying around in space right now. And if you, in episode 3, the prisoners remarked about how the ship was brand new. There's no scuff marks on the shuttle bay floor.
Okay.
So the Discovery is a brand new, right off the line ship, whereas the Enterprise has been kicking around for a while. So it does sort of make sense. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it, and it's got to be. I mean, in this post Game of Thrones world, things got to go bad, because that's how TV and drama is nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I didn't watch the trailer for the new episode yet.
Oh, you haven't?
So I don't know anything about like what's going on there, but I was kind of wondering what happens to Stamets and all that kind of stuff.
From the trailer, it looks like he's even angrier from the little snippets that we see. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes. Do you have any favorite parts of this episode?
I think it's kind of a funny thing is how Stamets is like teaching Michael to dance, and then he's like, "Will you let me lead?" And then
Gotta see what I'm working with here.
yeah, and then she goes and does it to Ash, and then she's like, "Would you please lead?" So, I mean,
I'm relinquishing control. Please lead.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of funny, but it's also interesting. Like, and a lot of people probably don't care for like the love story parts of things. I like that kind of stuff. The Ash and Michael Burnham thing going on there. It feels like Ash kind of sees it happening and is fine with it, but he knows that Michael's kind of clueless and thinks that, because there's a one point like where he says, "Oh yeah, she thinks that's inappropriate" or something like that, and
Yeah.
it seems like he's way more aware and obviously experienced, because she's never been in love and he most likely has. Yeah,
Ash looks like a player.
exactly.
He's a heartbreaker.
Yeah. So yeah, that was some fun stuff. At the end, well, I guess not necessarily a favorite thing, but at the end, like it still felt like they were explaining things away a little bit. Like, oh, I changed the console so that it sent it to Stella instead of the Klingons. I'm just like, where did that come from? Like, it just felt very kind of contrived a little bit. Like, you have the whole ship control, but I somehow changed the console of this to send the, because he says, computer, send the coordinates or whatever. And that somehow goes to, they have it programmed to go to Stella instead of the Klingons. It just, I don't know, it seems a little weird.
Yeah, it was really weird that, that the way they got around it was using non-essential systems, but like, why didn't they just block out all the essential systems like I was talking about earlier? Yeah, it's a little bit. I think that's the problem with Discovery. The episodes are too short, or that, and they could be longer. They're on a streaming platform. There's no reason they have to constrain themselves to 44 minutes.
Right.
I mean, they're on a streaming platform for a reason. I mean, the first episode since it appeared on TV, sure, I understand it needed to fall into that 45 minutes so you could have commercials in it. But all the other episodes, they could have been 50, 55 minutes. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're on an online streaming platform. They could take a little bit more time and do a little bit more on screen and explain things a little bit better. Because I still want to know how the spore drive works. I want to know how it's always worked for them. Ever since Stamets had it, it's always worked for them perfectly. Like, warp drives always go out in TOS or something happens where they can't warp, or even the Gagarin in the next episode, they couldn't warp out because they got damaged. But no matter what happens to Discovery, that spore drive always works. So I'm curious about, like, how come that's never been a thing, and why does it work so? Why is it so efficient? It's experimental, but it's always worked so well ever since they figured it out.
That's a good point. I had not thought about that. Yeah, it always seems to work, and especially since it's not being used with a tardigrade. It's like that's how it's supposed to work, but somehow we've gotten around it and it works perfectly still. It's just kind of like, huh.
Well, I guess until the end of Into the Forest we go, but I think Lorca sabotaged it by putting in those coordinates.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like, so do you think he wanted to go to the mirror universe or something, or like what do you think he put in there that was?
Well, he showed Stamets and Into the Forest I Go all these different coordinates of all these different places that could be other universes in. I think he plugged one of those in because he wasn't really sure what it would really do, and I think that's what happened. But he did seem genuinely surprised about where they were, so I don't know.
Yeah. And when does that episode come out?
Sunday. Can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's fine. It feels like it's been a long time, but it's given you time to do these videos too.
Yeah, the whole idea was I wanted to put these out like in between the season break, to kind of keep interest in Discovery happening.
Yeah.
So do you have any closing thoughts for magic to make the sanest man go mad?
Just that I hope they do more time loops. Like you said, they can do them anywhere. It doesn't have to be necessarily part of the season plot, but I liked it, and I hope they do something like that again, or something involving time travel or something like that.
It's Star Trek. Time travel's bound to happen again.
Yeah. I mean, just go straight at the sun and turn left and you're set,
Absolutely. Slingshot around the sun. Kirk used it like all the time. If you haven't seen Operation Earth or Assignment Earth, the TOS episode, it's hilarious because they're just back in the 60s or orbiting Earth like time travel's normal for them to do. I think it's the last episode that we talked about on the podcast before we got into Discovery.
Oh, okay.
But it's so weird. They just like, oh yeah, traveling back is totally normal. So Discovery could do that if that's normal for back then.
That's true. Yeah, because even Star Trek 4 is just like, oh, we need whales. Let's go back in time and get whales. It's like, what? Like, how are you even controlling how far you go back and stuff? It's a
little bit rusty and it's a little bit hard in the Klingon ship. It's not
Yeah,
as well built as the Enterprise.
yeah, but at least it cloaked. I mean, that was convenient.
Leaving it in the park.
Yeah. So,
I can't wait to talk about Star Trek 4. It's one of the movies we haven't done yet. Actually, we
oh,
haven't done most of the movies, actually.
oh, okay. That's right. You guys did Generations though at some point,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Unfortunately. Actually, I didn't mind Generations, but I mean,
Oh,
it's
Tiny
still,
Tim's in it. It's kind of hard to say no to Tiny Tim.
yeah. I mean, it's still a, is it odd number? Yeah, it's still an odd number episode, so that it's good. It's just or movie, so it's bound to be bad. But
Yeah, it's mostly true that the odd ones are bad. Yeah, matches make the sanest man go mad. Mostly, my final thoughts on it are: this could have happened in any season of Discovery. I don't feel like it needed to happen here. I feel like this could have been. I feel like they could have stuck in a love story for Michael and Ash in some other way, so that we could have had more Klingon war stuff happening. Because we didn't even see a Klingon in this episode.
it's true.
I just wish this episode is great. I love Rainn Wilson. I love time loops, but the reason I didn't like it, the reason I'm hard on this episode is because it's taking away from the Klingon War. I feel like so. Those are kind of my closing thoughts. Jerrica, where can we find you on the social media?
Sure. I'm Jerikandra Cosplay on Facebook, and then Jerikandra on Instagram, and Jerikandra Lurve, Lurve on Twitter.
Awesome. Any upcoming cons that you'll be coming to that people could come see you
Yeah.
at?
Well, upcoming, like my first con of 2018 is March 1st at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle. So I'm on the West Coast, and so we hit a lot of West Coast cons. So yeah, come see me there. Won't be in Star Trek uniform most likely, although we do during the like party nights. We'll sometimes switch to Star Trek uniform out of our costumes and into Star Trek uniform. So it could happen.
Awesome. Sounds like fun. Well, for us at Synthaholics, we're at synthaholics.com. Join the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/synthaholics. And you're already here on the YouTube channel, so enjoy the lookbacks and the drinking videos we put out once a week. We have lots of fun doing those.
Oh, also I'm on YouTube. If you want to see my video logs, I
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
some of cons and stuff. So I'm Jerikandra Cosplay or youtube.com/Jerikandra, or actually Jerikandra Cosplay. So yeah, check out my YouTube channel as well.
Well, if you're already on our channel, you can look at the Friends of Synthaholics, and you can get to her from there as well. YouTube's got the sidebar. We've got other channels that are related, or channels that you can set up. I've set yours up on ours, so people can
Cool.
find you that way as well.
Awesome.
Definitely click on her and give her a like and subscribe as well.
Yeah, thanks.
She did all these crazy Christmas vlogs, like almost every single day of December.
Yeah, Vlogmas, vlogging every day of December up to Christmas at least. I didn't do past Christmas, but
Well, thank you so much again for joining me. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and live long and prosper, one and all.
Long and prosper.
Live long!